Alright, welcome back to another video. I wasn't going to do a video up until the Liverpool game where I was going to do a match reaction. I'm recording this actually at 1 in the morning, so I thought get a quick video done before I go to bed. I'm not on social media as much anymore, but I saw Vladimir Coufal was getting abused. I don't know what was said. I just saw a lot of messages saying, we're all behind you and all this stuff. Now, I have a few things to say about this. Because I think we're evolving as a side, and I actually said on my match reaction, Coufal isn't good enough, and I didn't say anything abusive, I didn't say anything stupid, I said my opinion on the way he played, and genuinely, apart from a couple like tackles defensively, I don't think he did anything in the Southampton game. You could go and watch my match reaction. Okay, but this debate is also going to be in the title you've seen. Are the Czech boys, Coufal and Soucek, good enough for West Ham United anymore? Now, usually you don't really do a debate about, if you're a West Ham fan, you don't really do a debate about, is a player good enough for your club? Because usually you're battling at the bottom of the table and you need any kind of grafter to get them out. Vladimir Coufal and Thomas Soucek joined that attire where we didn't think we could reach the heights that we did in that season. So when Soucek joined, it was in the January 2020 window. A bit of an out of the blue signing. It was an initial loan, and you got a few goals from set pieces. David Moyes even said it was a counter-attacking side, but it wasn't by design. And he helped by being a late arrival in the box. Games at home against Watford, Chelsea, away at Newcastle, all games he scored in and performed well, because not everyone scores and performs well in the same game. And we'll come to, when I do another video on a certain player that plays for West Ham, I am going to rip into the stat merchants. So when you score a goal, doesn't mean you've played well. You've played an important part of the game, but overall, I can still say you haven't played well. You could do better in this aspect and this aspect. That's why Bruno Fernandes actually got so much praise, because everyone thinks, oh, well, he scored a lot of goals. He's a good player. Not a good player. But moving on. Thomas Soucek, yeah, as I've said, he played well in certain games, especially during the lockdown period, where we needed to get points. And the thing is with Thomas Soucek is that he gave you like Mourinho pointed this out first, like a Fellaini aspect, the later rivals in the book to be the tall guy. And we've always had tall people that are good at headers in the box. I loved Andy Carroll and Kevin Nolan when they were there. Andy Carroll wasn't fit enough, but I loved the way he would bully defenders. He made Koscielny have a nightmare at Upton Park at the last season in the 3-3 game. Honestly, I've never seen anything like it, the way the centre-back's so distraught by a striker. But, as I was saying, so Soucek joins and then he recommends Coufal. Around the time, Diangana goes, Josh Cullen goes, Jack Wilshere goes, Felipe Anderson on loan, Ben Rama in, Dawson in, Soucek in, Coufal in. There was probably a couple more people, if not, then I've got them all for that window. A couple people went out as well, a couple youngsters and etc. From what I can remember. A very controversial window. A window where the board were very stingy. A window where we thought, would Moyes leave if he wasn't backed? We'll probably be fighting relegation? Will we survive this year in the Premier League? It was looking real bleak. A lot of fans weren't renewing their season tickets anyway. I didn't have a season ticket at this time. I refused to go after the first season of the Olympic Stadium. At the time, I had no interest in returning. Up until last year. And it was a weird time. And I know that we're 5 minutes into this video and I haven't really got into the debate, but I'm giving you a bit of a backstory. Skip ahead if you want me to get to the debate. Now, here's the thing. Coufal and Aaron Cresswell played their absolute nuts off, whether it was a 5-back or 4-back formation where we were counter-attacking, they were whipping crosses in. They were amazing. Both of them were amazing that season. And we had an amazing season, got Europe, did very well. Next season, Coufal starts off well. He actually started off really well. But then the Man United game in the cup, because we played them in the league and then we played them in the cup, and Nemanja Matic kind of knees him near his groin area, gets an injury, and then we played Brentford like a week and a half later, and he didn't look the same. It was just long balling it, long balling it, long balling it. I think that was the start of the downfall of Coufal. Because in patches, we needed like Johnson and Coufal were both fit. Now, if you needed someone that was just outright reliable, you play Johnson. If you needed someone that we actually need someone to cross a ball a bit better, I'd say Coufal. And Johnson's improved on his crossing. He's improved going forward. He was always solid coming back. Always a solid defender, even when included at a young age. I wasn't sure on Johnson at first, but he improved. And he was always a good defender, and he's improved on his attacking since. If we was to play a right back, he'd be my first choice right back. Although if we get everyone fit, it would still be Zuma, Dawson, and Kera, and I'd play Emerson left back. But I understand why Moyes plays Cresswell left back, although I don't agree with the decision. And here's the problem. Ever since that Brentford game last year, Coufal has not been the same, apart from the odd cross against Arsenal, where he's really sick at crossing, and he put some performances in the Europa League. Second leg, Lyon. He performed well. Everyone performed well. I still wouldn't even say Soucek performed well. And with Thomas Soucek, ever since last year, where it's either we've allowed Rice to go forward or we're playing more football, we're trying to pop the ball around a bit more. He's very good against the top six sides. Played well against Tottenham because we were counter-attacking. Played well against Chelsea because we were counter-attacking. But how many times have we had players where they would turn up against Tottenham and Chelsea, but they wouldn't turn up against anyone else? Because if you look at the fixtures, West Ham tend to turn up against Chelsea and Tottenham due to history and all of that stuff. And I've never liked it when players just perform for those games. It's happened in the past before. And the problem I have is that because we're trying to play more possession football, we're not counter-attacking as much. We're still okay on transition. I would say it's hindered Coufal, it's hindered Soucek, and they deserve. They're already cult heroes at the club, no matter what, because they got us to a point where we're in Europe, and they got us here. They're part of the team that got us here, and I'll always appreciate them for that. But in my opinion, it's time to go. And the reason why I say this is because you can perform against the big six teams, but if you're only good for 12 games, 12 games, then I can't really help you unless you want to take a role where you're not playing as much. I don't think Moyes will do that. Moyes is obsessed with Soucek. Despite him saying himself he wants to be more attacking, he wants to play more possession football. He persists with Thomas Soucek. And to be fair to him, Coufal kind of had to play against Southampton. We don't really have many defenders. But I'm just saying we're going to have to invest in a right back very soon. It looks like Ashby won't sign a new contract, apparently. Don't know if that's reliable yet. But we're going to have to buy a new right back very soon, regardless whether Coufal stays or not. And I know we were linked with Aaron Wan-Bissaka. That's not going to make us better in possession. He can defend very well. Can't attack. What's the point of buying him? Especially if Moyes is trying to persist with the three at the back, that makes it even worse. He's not a wing back. He can't play wing back. That would I would say this: if Moyes bought Wan-Bissaka and went three at the back permanently, he would cost his own job. Just my opinion. I'm always going to be Moyes unless we're in a relegation battle. So yeah, This is the thing. Just because you're a good servant for the club, you got to know when to move on. You got to know when sentiment doesn't overshadow um, your mindset in terms of how you judge a player. I don't know if I've explained that right, but that's the best I can explain it. And I saw a tweet where someone said Coufal had the best expected threat. Expected threat, not threat, expected threat. Now, this is not abuse to Coufal. I'm criticizing someone's performance. Going off stats online, I'm putting it out online and convincing all these people that they're good because of expected threat. XT. Where's football going? If I wanted to read like judge players on like stats, for example, I wouldn't watch a game. I would just look on my phone. Look at the match stats. Look at SofaScore. Look at that whatever that website is for expected threat. I'm not even gonna. If I even knew the name of it, I wouldn't even say the name of that. Don't even go check out these stat websites. I'm not checking out any of these stats. The only stats I'll check is like I'll be curious who's top goal scorer in the Premier League, etc. I wouldn't judge that. I wouldn't let that affect my judgment on a player in a Premier League. But I'm just curious who's the top goal scorer or whatever. I will look at that sometimes, but that's the only thing I look at, and that's not the way to go about football in terms of judging players. So, yeah, you shouldn't judge players on stats. Expected threat is a bullshit stat. If you want to so here's the thing, you should never abuse players, but putting that next to a tweet where you're saying because he's the player with expected threat, or this is just a rough patch. I'll be honest, it's not a rough patch. But even if it was just a rough patch, or even if it's because you think he's not been good enough for a year, like myself, don't abuse him. You don't abuse players online. I'm not going to reply to a player's tweet. I'm not going to DM a player on Instagram. I'm not going to go in their comments. I've probably quote tweeted in the past, but it was nothing abusive. I have said some wild shit on Twitter before. There's still tweets up there. But this is the thing. Like, I wouldn't go and abuse players, especially your own players. I get we're in a meme thing, and the memes sometimes are funny when it comes to other players. This is going to also affect other people though, but criticism is always going to come with this job. So there's always going to be a big debate here. But so the final opinion, don't abuse players. But in my opinion, this also shouldn't go off, this is just a rough patch. Because it's not. It's not a rough patch. This is not bad form. This is just a decline. And that is it. The Czech boys have to step aside. Think about it. The top teams reinvent their squads to stay at the top. If we want to stay in the European spaces to compete with the big six teams, we have to rebuild our squads. We have to move on. And especially when you have two fullbacks that are approaching their 30s or are 30 plus, they're not fast, they're not quick, they'll get caught in transition, they'll cost you points, they're good at reading the game, they're not good at passing the ball. They're not, both Coufal and Cresswell are not the best technically, although Cresswell is very good at set pieces still. So yeah, that's my opinion. If you guys did like the video, leave a like on the video and subscribe if you're new. Leave a like. I've already said that. I'm tired. I'm recording this at 1 a.m. as I just said. Social media's are in the description. You want to follow me, and the email for the inquiries. And yeah, that's my opinion on the Czech boys. And I'll see you guys hopefully on the Liverpool game.